Let us go to law and licensing. Chair Hymas.
Thank you. We are going to jump down to agenda item 5.6. This is R277-304, Teacher Preparation Programs. The committee recommends that the board approve R277-304, Teacher Preparation Programs Draft 2 on second and final reading. However, as you could have guessed, there's changes. So, do we have, I should have looked in. Draft 3 is in the backup. In talking to staff and looking over some of these changes, the year 2024 has been changed to 2025 so that universities and other programs are all on the same timeline. So if there are any, and I believe those are the only changes that are made relevant in there. So I'm happy to take any questions, but my motion would be, and I think we need second on this, is that the board approve R277-304 Teacher Preparation Programs Draft 3 on second and final reading.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion to that motion? Member Earl?
I think I'm.
I'm sorry, I meant Member Lear.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Matt to summarize or point to the changes. I'm looking through it quickly and.
Yeah, and my apologies, and this was.
Because it came from staff and not from the committee. So.
Well, yes and no. It's just it came from conversations that I had asked some questions about. It came to me from outside, and then I asked some questions, and then there were some findings. You know the process. You've been through this before. Ben, you're a lifesaver. Can we get, yeah.
Chair.
And you can start, I think it's lines 92.
Yeah, Ben Rasmussen, Director of Law and Professional Practices. So before in the rule, we had different effective dates for the changes for Apple program candidates and for University Preparation Program candidates. We originally had Apple program candidates having this take effect in September, and then we gave an extra year to the University Preparation programs. After discussing it, we felt it would be better as far as notice is concerned. In fact, the law requires us, as far as notice is concerned, to make it effective for all programs in September of 2025. So that was the change that we made throughout the rule. There's about 4 places throughout the rule where we changed that. So Apple program candidates and all preparation program candidates are bound by these changes at the same time.
Thank you.
All right, Member Klein, I think.
Yes. Yes, I would move to reject the changes on line 9. So it would unstrike allows and then take out directs. Simply because, and if I can get a second on that, I will speak to it.
Line 1?
Line 9 says, so allows was changed to directs, and I just want it put back the way it was. It's with an S, allows. Okay, can I speak to it? Yes, so in looking up that piece of code that it's referencing, 53E6201, Section 3A, it says the board may make rules, which better reflects a may than directs, because directs sounds more like a shall. So just to be consistent with what it says in code, it should be allows, not directs.
Yeah, I just want to clarify as well. If this is 53E-6-201, subsection or section 1 states the state board shall establish in rule made in accordance with this title. And then the other line referenced, I believe referenced by
3A.
Member Klein is 3A. The state board may by rule made in accordance with Title 163G. So I don't really think it's saying may make rule. It's saying may by rule do this, right? So I think the conversation is around the state board shall establish in rule. It should be around 1, not 3A, if allow or direct is relevant here.
Okay, I will withdraw that.
Does that
Yes,
make sense?
that helps. Thank
Okay.
you. I have another motion.
Okay.
I would motion to strike lines 67 through 76, where it talks about incorporating by reference the general teaching preparation competencies and elementary content competencies. And if I can get a second, I will speak to that.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Member Bogus is second.
67 through 76. First of all, I am against incorporating by reference, as it is not transparent to have these documents that you have to go search. And if I remember from a previous discussion, any changes that are made to documents incorporated by reference, if there are changes to those documents, they need to come to us. It needs to be brought to us first, right? Okay. So even still, in looking at those documents that are incorporated by reference, these competencies, in my opinion, have a lot of problems. And I feel like if we're going to incorporate by reference, then we need to vote on each of those competencies one by one and not just incorporate by reference. And so I would move to strike with the caveat that I would withdraw that motion if we could go through and amend the competencies one by one, but I think that would take quite a bit of time.
Okay, the discussion. Member Lear.
Well, I'd like to talk to, maybe she's coming for that purpose. I'd like Dr. Height, the licensing director, to speak to the appropriateness or the, is this a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Is it doable? What's her opinion? Because to me, just to throw in not a spoiler for sure, but an opinion, if we were to review everything page by page that's incorporated by reference in all of our rules, A, we would be doing staff work,
Carol,
and B, it would tie us
Board
up.
Member Lair, can you
Yes.
rephrase that instead of, can you tell us if this is a good idea, bad idea? So that staff aren't having to weigh in on, is this a good idea, bad idea? Is there a specific question you have related to this?
Yes, how doable is reading every competency one by one, and and voting on that? Is this, and second part of that
You're
is-
talking about efficiency, how efficient, how,
right,
yeah,
and,
okay.
and also, is this staff work or not, typically?
Okay.
Typically, not to use the word typically.
Would you like, Ben or?
The concern that I wanted to raise, if I may, is that we can't, if we take out the section where these are incorporated by reference, it causes problems throughout the rule, because these documents that have been incorporated by reference are also then, we also then require the preparation programs to incorporate these documents. So we incorporate those by reference because that's the way we we kind of tie it all together. So it would require, if the board was inclined to take out the incorporation by reference section, we'd have to rethink how we do the language throughout the rule, and it would just require a lot more changes.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything to add, or is that good? Okay, all right.
I'll add one thing. Malia Height, Executive Coordinator of Educator Licensing. By striking these lines in this rule, it would mean that you have no standards for what it means to be a teacher in the state of Utah as far as their educator preparation program goes.
Okay, thank you. Board Member Davis, you have a comment?
I have more of a logistical question. We went straight to teacher preparation programs, but if a board member wants to bring a motion for one of these above agenda items, we can do that, right? Were they discussed?
You mean request and brought it
Yeah,
to a
so
committee?
I was going to
Yeah.
ask Matt, but he just came back in. But
Oh,
did you talk about each of those three things, of those no motion things? I mean,
You know what, you're right, I didn't. They will come up later on the agenda.
today.
Yes,
Okay, thanks.
so.
If I may, I don't think we didn't vote separately. Turn up. Or,
Let me just clarify, because Ben's clarifying for me. I thought you were talking about are you talking about the previous agenda items? Yes,
Oh.
yes. Those are going to be in agenda items 6, I believe. Thank you. Yep.
all right, there is no one further, and we're going to go ahead and take a vote on this item. The item is strike lines 67 through 76. Are we ready for that? As that comes up, go ahead and vote. One more. There we go. Okay, and Chair Moss is not here currently. It looks like we have, someone might have to help me. Bogus has abstained. Green, Carey, and Board Member Klein have all voted in favor, and so 10 votes in opposition. So, okay, do we have any other items? All right, we're going to go ahead and vote on what's the original motion? That the board approve R277, I'm sorry, okay. Member Klein, you have another motion?
Yes, I would move to strike the changes on lines 169 to 171.
So you're moving to strike line 69 through, not 69?
169 to 171.
169 to 171. Okay, we'll get those up. I can continue. So. Okay, is there a second to that motion? To strikes 116,
Just to
9
strike
through
the changes made to 169 to 170.
the
Yes, I want to go
changes or
back to the
lines?
original language.
So it would be removing and collaborating, and it would be removing school counselor or school social worker. What it would be instilling is it would be instilling back into it, and let me just read it, consulting with qualified personnel such as mental health or behavioral professionals regarding the emotional wellness of a student and responding appropriately. Okay, is there a second?
I don't know, is that what you want? Is that what you're saying? Because that's not what I heard when you spoke.
So, or what I understood.
So my preference would be, and maybe I will change my motion to this, and then if that fails, we can go back to this, would be just to strike those lines entirely.
Oh, okay, so
And then
yeah.
if that fails, we can go back to, I would make a motion to strike the changes that have been made and go back to the original.
So you are asking to strike 169 to
Yes.
170. Okay, that's not, okay, thank you. All right, any questions or comments to that? Kelsey, you ready? Okay, we're ready for a vote. So if you vote to strike those 3 lines, 4 lines, 5. Okay, you can vote yes or no. Okay, Sarah's gone. Okay, I was like, we're missing one. Okay, so yes, the yes votes, this failed, but the yes votes were Green, Carey, Bogus, and Klein. And then there are 10 no's. And you have another, did you have another amendment, Board Member Klein? Okay, go ahead.
So I would move to strike the changes that are made in the draft on lines 169 to 171.
Okay, and I previously read those, but it would be consulting with qualified personnel such as mental health or behavioral professional regarding the emotional well-being of a student and responding appropriately. And it would be, the blue language added would be consulting with and collaborating with qualified personnel such as school counselor or school social worker regarding the emotional well-being of students.
Do I have a second? Okay, so I just think we shouldn't be taking out the professional aspect as if we, I just think we need to keep that part in there so that it's qualified personnel, as in professional, not just a school counselor that may or may not have those same qualifications. I just don't think we want to water it down.
Okay, Board Member Davis, did you have a comment?
I have a question. What was the committee rationale for taking out mental health or behavior professional instead putting in school counselor or school social worker? Because we have school counselors, we have school social workers, but we also have behavior intervention specialists. So I'm wondering, because it's such as, so
Okay.
it would really include all of those things?
Do you have a response for that?
Yes. So the committee felt that leaning towards positions that are licensed positions as the examples rather than a more broad term of mental health or behavior professional limited it to an educator that's working in the school.
Thank you, but those would be included with the such as, right?
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other information? Okay, all right, we're gonna go ahead and vote. I don't see any other comments, so wait for that to come up. So give us just a second. Go ahead and vote. Okay, 3 more. Did yours go? What's that? Oh. You have a mix either way. Okay, it looks like Sarah's gone. Are we missing one person? Did everybody vote? Straight. Oh, yeah, but it says 13 still. We're missing one. Okay, there we go. So we have 3 yeses to amend, and those are Davis, Green, and Carey, and 1 abstention. That's Board Member Klein, and then 10. Okay, and I'm just teasing. It's Board Member Klein is a yes, and then we have 10 no's on that, so that fails. Okay, we're going to go back to the original agenda item, which is,
Vice Chair Earl, may I move an amendment?
yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I would move to amend line 169 and 70 to simply state consulting with appropriate personnel regarding the emotional well-being of students. Because this encompasses, well, with a second, I'll speak to my motion.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, there's a second. You want to speak to that?
Yeah, so as this is written in its original form, it's not always possible to have a psychiatrist in the room. And it's not always the way that it happens inside the buildings. For example, I had shared with Member Hymas that if I have a struggle with one of my students, I would go to the classroom teacher. That is where I would go first. And then we would go together to the next level and we would work through the appropriate steps. And so I think the word appropriate there is more encompassing of the way it happens in real time. And then I would offer that when we are speaking about mental health, we really should be going to professionals, licensed professionals, and not to. I understand that there's a very clear difference between a school counselor and a psychiatrist. So, and I think we need to, as the board, delineate between those two. So I think this just more encompasses how this plays out in real time in our schools. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Board Member Klein? Do you want to turn him on?
So I would actually, I like this better, but I would amend it to add consulting with parents and appropriate personnel regarding the emotional well-being of students. So just adding
So that
parents.
yeah. Okay. Just one quick question on that, where this is a preparation program. Can you speak to that? Can someone speak to that? Is that, yeah, go ahead.
Consulting and collaborating with parents is actually its very own separate item. It's found in line 308 through 309, communicating with parent. Oh, this one's specific to students with disabilities, but there are other spaces that are just to parents. So in line, I found it in line 145, it says effectively communicating and collaborating with parents specifically.
About emotional well-being or just in general?
Oh, just in general.
So I would keep my motion as is so that it's there specifically regarding the emotional well-being of students. If they're going to go to the counselor, they should consult first with a parent and then with, in fact, fix that, my motion, so that it says consulting first with the parent, and then appropriate personnel regarding the emotional well-being of students as needed.
Okay, we're asking if that, is there anybody, could that be a friendly amendment or is anybody not for that? Okay, so then we'd have to, that was a secondary amendment, so. Okay, Member Bogus, did that get seconded? Yeah, but Board Member Klein just made a motion. I'm just wondering if it got seconded.
So I'll second it so I can speak to it.
Okay. So consulting with appropriate personnel, where are we adding that at? Before appropriate?
I would say
So
with
consulting with
parents
parents
first,
and appropriate,
with parents first, and then with appropriate personnel as needed regarding the emotional well-being of students.
169 and 70.
So parents first, if you can add first, and then, parents first and then.
okay, is it up there yet the way you want it?
That's correct.
Does that work? Okay. All right, Board Member Bogus, did you have comment?
I do. I would have loved to have taken this offline, but I need to speak against this motion, and that's something I very rarely do when it comes to speaking to parents first. But we have another section of this rule that deals with that, and when you're in these moments where kids are in an escalation cycle and you can see something coming at the end of the day, and sometimes it's, are you seeing what I'm seeing? It's not a phone call home, it's a phone call to the principal that says, I need you to come and observe and see if you see what I see and confirm that you're seeing what I'm seeing, and then we'll reach out from there. It's not always an escalated incident. And I think if we narrow the scope so much that in the everyday action of teaching and learning, that before we speak to anybody else, we have to call a parent when we're dealing with issues in real time, we're doing a disservice to our students. And I know that there are many in this room that are going to disagree with me, and that is okay. But real time, active, educating students,
So if we put
I struggle
parents-
with this.
If we just take it back to parents and appropriate personnel,
Yes, I could go for that.
I'm fine with taking that back.
Okay. Are we looking at a friendly unless someone, anybody?
So
No, it's
it
not
w-
friendly anymore, so we'd have to vote on this, you'd have to make another motion.
Yeah, so it would just read consulting parents and appropriate personnel regarding the emotional well-being of students is what it would say.
Okay, so so Carol, you wanted to vote on the first, parents first, and then, are you okay with the motion?
belong in this competency collection.
If,
Okay, so we're gonna make this change without the first, unless there's any other, and then we're gonna vote on this.
Can I
Okay.
just speak? If my child was having emotional problems at school that were sufficient for a school, appropriate personnel to be contacted at the school, as a parent, I think I have the right to know that and be able to be alerted to that so that I can work with the school and work with my child to address the problem. The parent should not be left out of the loop on something
And I
that
don't believe that's the
alerts
case,
the-
but
that requires alerting those kind of personnel.
I do have one question. Is appropriate the same as qualified? Are those two different? A qualified person different than an appropriate person? Because I would be nervous about putting appropriate in there when it should really be qualified. If it doesn't matter, then if an appropriate person is a qualified person. Okay. Yeah. I can probably, yep.
I think some of the field might struggle with, well, who is appropriate? And if we say qualified, then it limits it to a licensed individual,
To
which
very
is, yeah.
specific, okay. Okay, all right, we are, oh, yeah. Board Member Hymas?
I just want to reiterate that these are competencies. These are not steps to be taken, right? It's just because it's labeled number 6 or 7 or whatever, doesn't mean it's the 7th or 6th step in the process. These are competencies, and communicating with parents is one of those competencies. So I'm going to vote no on this, but that doesn't mean that I don't like to work with parents. I am a parent. Right? They're going to be informed, but these are just the competencies that we go through. And so we're trying to fit everything into one competency. It's already in one rule. And again, this is a teacher prep program. This is not a teacher take these steps.
Okay, and can I ask one other question? And I don't know if this is just a broad question, but if a child is meeting with a counselor at school, do they keep the parent in the dark, or are the parents notified? My understanding is they notify a parent if they're doing that. Am I? Okay, and maybe this isn't, it just sounded like that wasn't happening, that it was just going on. And whether or not it's happening, I'm just saying, is that a procedure? Okay, all right, the vote is so amend lines 1 69 to 70 to add parents and before appropriate and as needed after appropriate personnel. So it would read, consulting with parents and appropriate personnel regarding the emotional well-being of students. Okay, let's go ahead and yep. Okay. Yep. Okay, go ahead and you can take a vote. The voting is up if you want to vote. We're at 11. We're missing Sarah and missing one other person. Okay. So we are missing 3 then. Okay, so we have 3 board members missing right now. Carrie, who did we say? Sarah Rill and Chair Moss. And so the yes votes are, let me see if I can see. Green, Davis, August, and Klein. Okay. And so, okay. All right, we're going to move to the motion. Not those in favor. Let's go back up. Oh, Member Hymas, sorry.
Thank you. So we've got one motion that was just kind of an oversight. We need to
vote on August's amendment.
is that
Okay,
what
all
we're
right,
going
right.
first?
What was
Okay.
her amendment?
That's
Sorry,
okay.
that's right.
I'll
That
get
was
back
an
to you.
amendment to the amendment. So Board Member Boggess's motion was on lines 169 to 170, change it to read consulting with appropriate personnel regarding the emotional well-being of students. There is an amendment to that, so. Okay. Almost ready. I'm waiting for the cue. No lights. Okay, go ahead and vote. And we have 3 board members missing. We have board member Moss. Who else? Carrie and Rill, just so people know. Okay, we have 11. Let's see, we're missing. Do you want to abstain or do you want to vote? Board member Rill, do you feel like? Oh, you did. I'm missing some still.
I will find them.
One more. Okay, so that's 5 yeses, 8 noes, so that does not pass. The yeses are Green, Boggess, Hymas, Earl, and Klein. Okay. Nope, board member Hymas had a motion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's up here on the board. Like I said, there was an oversight. We did, for draft 3, we had a few changes to align the university and the Apple programs. There was one that was missed on line 93. I'm speaking to it, my apologies. The motion is that I'm making here, putting before the board, is that the board amend R277-304 draft 3 to strike the word university from line 93.
Okay, is there a second to that motion? Yes. Okay, board member Booth seconded that, and do you want to speak to it? I think you kinda did.
It was just an oversight. We just need to correct it to make sure that the rule has consistency.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a vote on this amendment. The amendment is on line, amend R277304 draft 3 to strike the word university from line 93. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, hold on, do you have a comment? We do have a comment or a question. Go ahead, board member Klein.
Light, there we go. I'm just curious, so the Apple program or whatever, the preparation program doesn't have to be through a university, is that correct?
Well, I don't believe so. I know Malia put her light on as well. Dr. Height, she might have a comment, but no, it doesn't have to go through the university. And that seems to have
So-
answered that, yes.
So is that the trend for everything that's that we're doing in that space? Is we don't need the universities for teacher preparation programs anymore?
That is not the case, but do you want to answer that?
I would argue that we definitely need universities to participate in educator preparation in the state of Utah. We certainly need universities for any of our programs that require advanced degrees, for example, school psychologist. But I think that the system requires university preparation as part of the system.
So
So why are we straight? I think our university programs exist either in a university or in an alternate route, which is LEA based. And right now we have both of those systems that exist to prepare teachers.
And for example, we have some grow your own type
Yes.
situations where we have people that are qualified or they're in the schools, they need to get complete certain competencies in order to get a degree, in order to teach, in order to
Yep.
get there. Yeah, okay.
So the university is not required. And are we phasing, are we moving towards one or the other and towards phasing out the other? Or is it going to remain a dual path for the foreseeable future? Or is that something that is changing down the road?
Yeah. Right now, that's what the system is using, is a university program. One of the requirements for a professionally licensed teacher is a bachelor's degree, which does rely on universities. So there's not a plan to usurp all the power from universities to take ed prep away.
They both have a role.
Yeah,
They both have a role. And it just depends on where the individual is that's trying to get the training. Some people are in a rural district, they may be getting their training there so that they're not able to travel to a university, but they're actually going through
An
a
online
program. Possibly online, it could be through their district or through their education service centers in order to get the qualifications that they need in order to teach. And it's part of that. Some of it's grow your own, some of it's other things, but it's trying to create that flexibility and to also qualified individuals. And the qualifications are outlined here, so. But it's not just university, it's both. University has an impact and a role.
But we don't need, but somebody could go either way, to a university or just through the program. So the university is not required.
Yeah, that is accurate.
Baccalaureate degree, that is true.
Yes. Okay, back to the. Okay, Member Davis? Oh,
We're here. Can I just remind the board what the amendment is here? And it's to strike university to get it consistent with the other ones, right? And we can vote no and then continue on with this discussion. We're not getting rid of universities. We're now saying that both programs, right? A program, either or, has to meet this deadline. So I just want to get back to what our discussion is going away from what the motion is.
okay. Okay, and we're ready to vote. Oh, Member Davis, my apologies. Go
Oh,
ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, I think in this case, I mean, I understand your concerns and I share some of them. Member Klein, I was gonna say, in this case, I think it makes both programs beholden to the requirements.
Yeah.
And then I was going to call the question, but I think we're already in the middle of voting, so.
We were eager, so, all right, go ahead. I can read it again, but you can go ahead and vote. That the board amend R277304 draft 3 to strike the word university from line 93. Are we done? 1, 2. We're missing 3 again, so I think we're there. Oh, and we're missing more than that, so. Oh, is Sarah gone now too? Okay, so it passes, it has 1 abstention. The votes are 12. And then Board Member Klein abstained on this one. So, okay, we'll go for the fry. Is there another motion? No amendments. Okay. So the motion is that the board approve R277304 teacher preparation programs draft 2 on second and final reading as amended. All those in favor? I'm so sorry. Same language I just read, but make it draft 3. Okay. So go ahead and vote as soon as it comes up. Thank you, Board Member Straight, for helping us move through this. That last one. In case anybody heard that audible, ah. I think we're there. So this passes. We have 8 votes in favor, 1 abstention. I can't tell who's abstaining. Sorry, I got my glasses on. Davis is abstaining, 3 noes, which are Green, Bogus, and Klein. Okay, and we're on to, whoops, what is the next item? I know I keep doing that.
Well, it's Jim. I mean, it's Matt.
Yeah, thank you. We are moving on to agenda item 3.7. This is revoke approval status for Wasatch Front Consortium. 5.7. Thank you. We can have staff if she wants to speak to this, but the motion that I believe is going to stand for now, and we'll have staff fill us in if you don't mind. The motion for the board is that the committee recommends that the board revoke approval status of the Wasatch Front Consortium Apple program if the program does not voluntarily close by January 15th, 2024, and direct staff to work with enrolled educators to complete their established professional learning plans.
Okay, and I believe there is a question or comment. Is that right?
Yes, I know that educators have been moving to other programs because I've spoken with several of them. Is this item, does this need still a vote?
Hi, Malia Hyatt, Executive Coordinator of Educator Licensing. Yes, the Wasatch Front Consortium did voluntarily close effective today, but we would still support the recommended actions so that our staff can follow up with those educators who were in that program to make sure that they have a path to licensure.
Okay, so the motion before the board is that the board revoke approval status of the Wasatch Front Consortium Apple program if the program does not voluntarily close by January 15th, 2024, and direct staff to work with enrolled educators to complete their established professional learning plans. All those in favor, go ahead and, Board Member Klein?
Is it appropriate for us to be voting to revoke if they've already closed? I just think we should probably amend the action so that it doesn't look bad on their part, like we had to revoke it when they.
Okay, let's
So direct staff to
confirm,
to work
accept,
with it.
or to accept the voluntary closure? And
Do we
work
have
with
to
staff?
accept it? They already did it. So
Or just strike that first part?
Yeah, I would just direct staff to work with enrolled educators to complete. Yes.
Second,
to the
Yes, and
educators.
just strike
okay.
everything before direct staff.
and I'll second that.
Except for we do want to articulate it's the Wasatch Front Consortium
Okay.
Apple program.
So direct staff to work with previously, or educators previously enrolled at Wasatch Front Consortium Apple program to complete their established professional learning plans.
Okay, is there a second?
Yeah, I seconded.
Second it? Okay. Okay, so the motion before the board, and I'll read it slow while they're typing.
Hold on.
Oh, with the-
well, Davis is next.
Okay.
I mean, I've just only done a cursory
Just a
read on
minute.
this, but do we need some kind of like documentation that the board recognized that the approval status was revoked for any future whatevers? Okay,
Are we asked, who would like to answer that?
I
Okay,
said no.
Okay, sorry. I'm like, I guess that's a no if you're listening online. Okay, any other comments? Okay, let me go ahead and read this then. What am I looking at? Okay, so the amendment is that, I'll just read the motion, that the board directs staff to work with educators previously enrolled in the Wasatch Front Consortium Apple program to complete their previously established professional learning plans. And that's the amendment, so we'll be voting twice, keep in mind, but go ahead and vote. This is for the, it's right here. Okay. That's okay. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Who else?
We're done.
Okay, so the motion passes unanimously, and Board Member Reels not here. Okay, and then it's the motion again, because that was an amendment. This is the motion, so you'll have to vote again. Same motion. I can read it again, though. That the board directs staff to work with the educators previously enrolled in the Wasatch Front Consortium Apple program to complete their previously established professional learning plans. Thank you, Sid, for holding it. The motion as amended. Sorry, thank you. I know, I was just making notice that it was amended. On this one? I'll tell you on which ones to do it, though. We're voting? Okay, we're voting. It's up. Let's see. Did you vote, Carrie? Okay, we're done. It's unanimous again, 14-0. Okay, Board Member Hymas, you're up.
Thank you. We are,
So we're on item 6 now.
yes, we are finished with agenda item 5. I do want to make, I know it was brought up earlier to discuss these action items. If the board remembers, there was a second meeting in which these were held. That's why they're here now. So we are going to go to agenda item 6.2, R277-111. 6.2. Board oversight framework. Now, the motion for the board is that the committee recommends that the board approve R277-111 Board Oversight Framework Draft 2 on second and final reading.
Okay, so the motion before the board is that the board approve. Is there, maybe I'll ask if there's any amendments? Okay, a second. Okay, thank you. Do you have it says 111. Board Member Klein, did you have a comment or a motion?
I have amendments.
Amendments? Okay. Yes.
I think we need Debbie Stallings in here.
I think you're right. Is there someone can? Oh. Okay, Ben is helping us at this point. So, okay. We're on 111. There's not a question. Okay. Okay, Board Member Klein, do you want to, I don't know if do we have
Yes.
access to this, or do you have this somewhere? Do you have your amendments?
Yes, I do. Okay, so I start with line 57.
Yes.
Did we receive these in advance at all?
I did not. I don't know.
No.
Board Member Klein, did you send these out to the?
No, I didn't.
No. So line 57, we're working off of draft 2, right?
Yes. So line 57, I would add the board after the word before and change categorizing to categorizes. So it would read before the board categorizes a program. And then it will continue as,
Okay,
Um,
so on line 57, adding before the board categorizes a program or
Yes.
set of requirements. Sorry, I'm just going to
Uh-huh.
read that section so people can hear it. Shall analyze the program or set of requirements based on the following factors. Okay.
okay?
Is there a second to that? Okay, Board Member Bogus seconded it. Could you speak to that so we could understand?
Yes, so I know down towards the end, it talks about the board being able to change any category it wants or the framework at any time. So I felt like the language in the rules should reflect that the board gets to categorize, but after receiving the analysis from the superintendent. So the superintendent would still do their analysis and make a recommendation to the board, but the board would be the one to make the final determination on what category.
Okay, which,
And so
which
my
alre-
other amendments
doesn't
would
that
make
already-
it consistent throughout
okay,
with that idea.
okay, I think that would already happen, but maybe that's fine. Does anyone else have a, Board Member Lear, did you have a comment? I do. Okay, do you want to? Yep. Perfect.
My recollection of this discussion, and it was a long time ago,
Thank you.
but that the board would not be literally categorizing, that the staff would be categorizing, but the board could overcall on occasion if that came about. Am I remembering wrong or right?
Ben Rasmussen, do you want to take that comment?
Yeah, just reading through the rest of the section, I think that's correct.
If I remember, we would vote on what is brought before us for each of these categories as it goes through the rule. Like as a rule comes before us, the category would be put into place and we would be voting on that and would make a,
So
Um,
in section
yeah.
5, it does show that the board will may vote to change part or all of the framework or categorization. So that's in section lines 121 through 124.
But be the board, but and maybe this, can I follow up on that?
yes. Go ahead.
And maybe this doesn't matter, but it feels like the board, the staff presents the category. To have the board vote on this before the superintendent or put the category in place before the superintendent analyzes the program or set of requirements doesn't quite make sense to me.
If I may,
I see what you're saying because you're saying that before she can even, or whoever's doing it, can categorize the set of requirements,
The
we're
board
doing something.
would have to decide without an analysis or without the superintendent's take on it. Maybe the superintendent can speak to it, or
Okay,
I'm just, that doesn't seem
I
sensible.
think what the rule anticipates at this point, if I may, is that the decision as to the categorization has been delegated to the superintendent or staff, and then the board can then take action to supersede that in section 5 if they disagree with the superintendent's recommendation.
Okay.
I believe Board Member Klein. You
Yes,
wanna-
so this still allows for that. With my amendments, the superintendent would still do the analysis and make the recommendation. As the rules come before us, it will, that is essentially the staff making their recommendation to us, and then we solidify the category.
Okay,
So it would say before the board categorizes a program or a set of requirements, the superintendent shall analyze the program or set of requirements based on the following factors, and then it gives all of those factors as it goes through, and then the superintendent later on will make a recommendation to the board. But the board, all I'm saying is the board is the one that ultimately accepts the recommendation of the superintendent or
I believe
staff based
section
on the
4,
analysis.
I
So
see where
it's
you're
just
going.
clarifying that in the language. So it
Correct me if
doesn't
I'm
really.
wrong, but I think that's what happens on line 104, like section 4 does that. When the board makes amendments, I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding this, or continues a rule regarding a program or set of requirements, the rule shall state the board's oversight objectives and related duties based on the superintendent's analysis and framework categorization of the program or set of requirements, and may include as necessary the intended category of oversight, designed an internal control system to achieve the board's oversight objectives and create an implementation plan.
That doesn't actually say that the board gets to categorize. It's still putting it on the superintendent to categorize. So I'm simply saying, instead of us being able to override, instead we just have the superintendent do the analysis, bring us back the recommendation, and then we decide if that's the categorization we want to go with.
Okay,
So
I guess
just
I
a
was reading it
minor
as part of
tweak.
that, but you're saying, okay.
It's just a minor
Because I was
tweak.
understanding it's what you're
So-
saying, but you're saying that just
No,
creates
because,
clarity.
yeah, the way it's written, the superintendent does all the categorization, and then we can overturn that if we want. But instead, I'm just asking that they do the analysis, they make the recommendation, and we as the board either affirm that, just like we get recommended actions all the time from staff, but then we are the ones that actually solidify that
Okay,
by
do you
our
have it?
vote.
Chair Moss?
Yeah, I think there's 2 or 3 things going on here. I think the one about when we make a rule, we will include the categorization. I lost track where that is, but we were just looking at it.
57 or something.
That was a different one. 104, thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, so this seems to me prospectively that initially I think this contemplates mapping the known universe of rules and programs and saying this is a 2, this is a 3, this is a 4. The initial categorization. I think 105 or 104 is going forward. When you have a new rule, we will include the categorization. And I think that the current language allows us to override the categorization by staff. I think what you're saying is that as in the initial mapping, that's the categorizing of what's currently out there, that once the superintendent has looked through the staff and decided that I think that's a 2, I think that's a 3, we would then have the opportunity to review before it goes into effect, right? Am I hearing you right? So that right now we can look at it and override, and going forward we categorize, but you're making sure
Override means that they get to decide.
No, that's
Instead
when
of
it's
just
already,
recommend.
that's when it's already approved.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that's when it's already approved. I think what you're saying is that to make sure that we are part of the initial process, right?
Okay,
So I'm saying I agree that there's an extra step needed. I wonder if that might be a consent calendar item, since we're talking about 100 rules that we might have on consent, that we've categorized these and we think this is a 2, we think this is a 3. Somebody could pull it, but we wouldn't necessarily, it could spend days, right? So
Well,
it's just a
actually,
thought. I'm throwing it out
when
there
the
to see
rule
what your
comes
thought is.
before us, it will have the categorization on there. That is where the superintendent will create the categorization, but when a rule comes before us, it's not solid till the board votes on it. The board
Right,
has
so
the
it's a
ability to,
recommendation. And that's
Yeah,
what I'm
that's right.
saying, it just needs to be clarified in here that is staff's recommendation to the board, that it's not the superintendent or staff's responsibility to create it, just to recommend a categorization based on their analysis.
yeah,
and then
that's what
we
it says,
approve
based on the superintendent's analysis and framework categorization of the program and set of requirements. So it'll be listed when the rule comes before us. So that is the point where we can weigh in before if you wanted to on any.
But the language throughout is the superintendent shall, when it's really the board that we want to make that final determination.
Okay, any other comments?
So the superintendent
Board Member
shall- or
Carey?
shall determine.
Do you want to hit?
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to speak in favor of the motion that's being made. And as I look at this, I have a lot of concerns, and I just want to thank the Chair, Jim Moss, just for his patience as we try to work through 114 and 111. But again, I don't see the demand, as I've met with, as we all have with the legislators. At interim committee, I was told that well, here is where we're going to see, you know, the demand from the legislature to show that we're doing something on this issue. And they seem less than disinterested on this matter. So again, I'm forced to come back and say, where is the push to implement this framework coming from? It's certainly not our legislature. And I see several issues with this, but I do think Board Member Klein's amendment makes it much more palatable, and that's why I'm speaking in favor of the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess I'll drive. Member Davis.
Yeah, can I call the question?
Can always call the
I
question.
actually want to call the question on the whole rule, so I can wait and be in line till after this amendment gets done if we need to.
Yeah, I mean, a motion to call the question is in order. It would be calling the question on Member Klein's amendment. That
No, I'll wait in line till after this
okay?
amendment.
You'd
is
rather
over.
wait till after this? Okay, gotcha. Back to you, Member Klein. Unless we have a, let me just see here. Yes, Klein and then Lair. Oh, there we go.
So my understanding is that with Robert's rules, you can't call the question to end amendments or end debate.
On an
So
amendment?
once people have all had a chance to weigh in, then you can call the question, but you can't just call the question to cut off amendments or debate.
Well, I think
That would be sort
if
of the
what you mean by
process.
that is that you would be calling the question on the whole rule, I think my reaction to that was you can't. You can call the question on the individual item that's before the body. Is that
Right,
the same thing you're
once
saying?
everybody's had a chance to speak to it that wants to speak
Well,
to
no,
it.
you can call the question on, that's the point of, the
Okay.
point of calling the question is to cut off debate. But you can only do it with the item that's pending, I believe, right? So yeah, this wouldn't call the
Okay.
question on the whole rule. It would just go to your motion and then somebody else could bring other amendments and whatever. I apologize. Well, I'm in favor of the amendment myself. I'll just speak quickly to it. I think that's the intent, is that the superintendent, those who are in the weeds administering the program, would look at it and say, look at the code. What does the legislature tell us to do about this? What's been our practice? What's our staffing? And say, we think that's a 3, upon which point we as the board would get to look at that and say, yeah, we agree or we disagree. So I think that's the intent of your motion as I understand it. And I guess I'm just curious whether the language makes that clear. We want the staff to do the work and then bring it to us, right? So, there we go. Before categorizing for the board's consideration. Is that your language or is that?
That's some staff
Okay.
recommended language to maybe accomplish the same thing.
Can I put that to you guys then? Again, I've spoken in favor of the concept and how that's teed up, I guess, staff are trying to help us with. Superintendent Stallings? I'm sorry, I stopped talking.
Yes. Thank you, Angie Stallings, Deputy Superintendent of Policy. I was just going to share that this new language that's highlighted there is exactly the intent that staff was intending. That the staff or superintendent would produce draft recommendations that would not be binding at all unless and until the board then codified either that recommendation or perhaps changed it. That is when it would be official, if that makes sense. So to Board Member Klein's request, that's completely in line with the way that the staff intended, is whatever draft we come up with would simply be that, a draft for the board's consideration. So we think that the new language will say before the superintendent categorizes, and it would then say for the board's consideration, which makes it clear that I hope, that the whatever categorization that staff comes up with is not binding unless and until the board considers it and takes action. Hopefully that helps.
So then can I just ask a question? Does this require every rule to come, we categorize it, and then the rule goes to committee? Or is this part of I guess I've envisioned this as the rule comes before us, we have a categorization, if I can say that, and that's part of whatever we're doing with the rule. So if it's a continuation, right? It's not two separate processes. We don't bring the category before us and then go, okay, now we're going to do the work on the rule, right? Okay, I just
It's
want to
the
make sure
former.
we're not adding two possibilities instead of the one. But when it comes before us, we can then weigh in and say, no, that isn't where, and when it's in committee, that's not where we want to go, or we'd like to be more restrictive or less restrictive or whatever, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's why you'll see there's a deadline of 5 years, because every 5 years
Yes.
we review every rule. And so we know that within that 5 years, each rule will come to you for consideration, and we will do it at that time.
Or as needed,
yeah,
according
if,
to what. Yep.
if there are some rules that we need to take action on right away, we will bring those forward right away. If there are some that are not as urgent, they will just come up under the regular course of review.
Okay, I think where are we at? Board Member Lear?
So is Deputy Stallings proposing clearer language for Member Klein's idea?
I don't
or
know.
Is that what you were doing? Yeah.
Yes, we didn't feel like the language that was originally proposed quite got to what we thought was Board Member Klein's intent.
Okay.
The good news is Board Member Klein's intent and what we thought was the actual process are in line. So hopefully, what I'm trying to let you know is what is stated there is what we thought it was
Would be
saying
better
anyway.
language.
Yes, because what we just didn't speak to generally, as you
No, I get all
yeah,
that. I just wanted to make sure you thought, so below the line would be the new motion if Member Klein
Well, it
accepts
depends on, yeah.
if Board Member Klein accepts it, right?
Gotcha.
Board Member Klein, are you interested, or do you want to continue with your?
Yes, I would continue with my amendments to make that.
No, are you
Clear throughout.
continuing with the motion that you had? Are you interested in the language that Angie had proposed? Associates, sorry, that Ben worked hard on and is grateful that Angie took the credit for.
I'm okay with the language that they have put forward, as long as we can then look at my amendments that I had to make that
Well, I
idea
can't guarantee that, but I can certainly, we can,
throughout. Yeah. So we'll just.
does it
move-
need to be repeated throughout, Ben, or just in one spot?
Just to make it clear, yeah, to move in this direction, so. Yeah, I'm just trying to make consistent throughout with this one idea.
So, okay, let me be clear on the motion. Are you, want to move?
That's fine, we can use their language there.
Okay, so the language that we're looking at, is there any opposition to that? This is friendly then, everybody's smiling, great. Okay, so, so we're gonna add here, before categorizing a program or set of requirements for the board's consideration, we're adding that where?
That would be line 57.
Line 57,
Yep, and then it continues after that. The superintendent shall analyze the program or set of requirements based on the following factors. And then that leads into the rest of the body, but that's the full sentence in context.
is there a duplication of this somewhere else that we can just say also on line 30, also on line, I don't
No.
know. No, okay. All right, so this is the motion before the board. Okay, Kelsey, you ready? Not quite, okay. I don't see any other comments. So we're going to amend line 57 to read, before categorizing a program or set of requirements for the board's consideration. And those that are in favor, mark yes if you're opposed. One, oh, there's one, no, what is the no? Green? Rill, sorry. Board Member Rill is a no, and 14 yeses. Okay. Board Member Klein? Can someone turn hers on?
Thank you. I would go down to lines 70 and 71. And after where it says after the superintendent, so after the superintendent shall, I would add recommend that the board before categorize a program.
Yeah, you may. Well, yeah, I guess if there's a second.
I'll second
Oh,
it.
you just have a question on, okay, go
But
ahead. Second.
if I have to second to get a
Yeah, yeah,
query,
yeah.
that's fine. Member Klein, would it be fair and sporting to say that since the previous motion passed, that we are just aligning the rest of the motion to clarify the process by which we're going through?
I just want to make sure the wording is
Is
correct.
consistent throughout.
And I have
Could-
those recommendations. Do you want me to pass those on to staff and have them?
I'm asking, and I'm not bellying up. I'm just asking if it would be possible to make a motion that directs staff to update the rule in line with this
Can we
so
bring
that
it
it's
back next
consistent
week?
throughout. Maybe make it consistent throughout, bring it back next week, and you could send staff your recommendations. I'm just wondering.
I'm totally fine with that. If the board is amenable to that, if we can put it off a week and get it all aligned.
Okay, so what's your motion?
So I would, we can move that, direct staff or work with staff to update the rule to be consistent. Keep going. I'm following your lead. Consistent with the motion to amend. That works. Is that clear enough, or do we need more context?
I'd need
The
more
rule.
context.
Be-
Just so that it aligns with the board.
So that the rest of the rule aligns with the amendment made to line 57.
Okay. Okay, is that it then?
Direct staff to update the rule consistent with the motion to amend on line 57 and continue the rule in next week's board meeting.
Okay, so the motion before the board is that direct staff to update the rule consistent with the motion to amend on line 57 and continue the rule to next week's board meeting. Any comments to this?
What's up?
Okay, we have a sub. Go ahead.
I move that we begin the motion with Member Klein's direct staff to update the rule consistent with the motion to amend on line 57 and consider the changes technical unless brought back to the board as substantive. Then it doesn't need to come back to the board. These Thursday meetings, you guys, they
go
are
fast.
short and we get kicked out of there. So as much as we can keep our regular business out and really focus on legislation, it's just better.
Okay, that's the substitute motion. Anybody else have a comment? Lear?
I just want to make sure I like Cindy's language. Thank you. Sorry for barging right in. I like Cindy's, Member Davis's language of the motion, considering, because some of the language may be just great, but I also think Angie has been working on this for 8 months. And so I don't want to tie her hands with someone else's language, but considering it is a really good idea. So just want to make sure that's really clear.
If there's no objection.
Well, Cindy already added the considering word that I thought was so important.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, we're going to go ahead and vote. So the motion before the board is that direct staff to update the rule consistent with the motion to amend on line 57 and consider the changes technical unless brought back to the board as substantive. Get ready. Get steady. Oh.
In consultation with staff, if that is implied in that, then that's great. But I want to make sure that Angie's the one that decides if they're technical or substantive, and what comes back to the board. So if that's
Okay.
the common understanding, then that's great.
Let me see clarity. Does this substantive changes, will it be brought back, or is if we pass this, then it will be,
Substantive changes need to come back.
yeah, if they're, okay, got you. Okay, want to make sure I had clarity on that.
Somebody has to consider, there's a
Yeah, got it, got
Yeah.
it. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
anything
you.
that's substantive, I'm happy for her to highlight when it comes back.
Now that's,
If
it's
it
not
comes
coming back,
Oh, it's
that's
not
what
gonna
we're
come
saying.
back.
Unless it's substantive.
And so it stays as it is, as opposed to.
With the alignment. We'll bring back. Yep. Okay. I just want to be clear so that there's no misunderstandings and board leadership gets in trouble or something. I'm just saying. Or Angie or anyone else. Okay. Ready and go. Not yet. Sorry. Yeah, we're ready. You might have, but we are doing it again. Now we are voting. Okay, we're missing, oh, that's unanimous. So, thank you. Now we're going to the next item on the agenda. And I think Board Member Hymas, that's you. Oh, just kidding. We're going to vote on the full rule as amended. Thank you for that reminder. So, it may not be. Yeah. So, where am I looking? So the action is that the board accept, that's all right. That the board approve R277-111 Board Oversight Framework Draft 2 as amended on second and final reading. And begin. Okay. We got one vote still out there. Who are we missing? Okay, there we go. We have Board Member Bogus, and Board Member Klein are no's, and the rest are yes. Okay, Board Member Hymas, we are back to you for next agenda item.
Worries. Thank you. We are on agenda item 6.3, R277-114, corrective action and withdrawal or reduction of program funds. The motion for the board is that the committee recommends that the board approve R277-114, corrective action and withdrawal or reduction of program funds, draft 7 on second and final reading. You can tell we've put some work in here. Draft 7.
Okay. Draft 7, we're looking at it. We're going to go ahead and look. Okay, it looks like Board Member Klein has an amendment or a comment. Okay.
Okay, I would motion to leave lines 20 through 24 as originally written.
Okay. Which draft are you wanting to
7.
leave the original language from? Because there's
7.
not strict. Okay, because I'm looking at line 20 through 27 and it is underlined. So are you looking at a specific draft?
I'm looking at draft 7.
Okay, am I looking at the wrong lines? 20 and 24. Oh, sorry, I was looking at 120, 24. Sorry, my apologies.
19 through 24.
Okay, let me look. Okay, any second to that? Okay, that does not go through. So does Board Member Lear, do you have a motion?
No.
Board, Oh, do you have a comment then?
I do have a comment.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I just want to make sure from Matt that is this the one we voted on, or did staff clean it up a little bit? Remind me.
This, from what I understand, this is what came out of committee. I have not been approached with any changes, and staff haven't let me know of any changes.
Great.
So this came out of committee at our last meeting. I don't know what the date is, but
23rd of December.
23rd. Was it that close? 19th of
Oh, I thought
December,
it just seemed,
Time flies.
Christmas Day.
yeah.
Do you have any other comments? Okay, Board Member Carey, you have maybe an amendment or something?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
And I believe it's been prepared to be up on the board.
okay. Do you want to read it out? You want me to read it?
Oh, I don't want to do all the work. So if you could.
Okay. I only have to turn this sideways, but I don't mind. Board Member Carey's motion that I'm going to read for him is that the board amend R277114 draft 7 to replace lines 81 through 91 as follows. For an alleged compliance issue regarding a program or set of requirements uncategorized or in framework category 1 or 2, board leadership may determine an appropriate method to investigate the alleged compliance issue, including directing the superintendent or the board's internal audit function to investigate the issue. And then down on B, if board leadership directs an investigation as described in subsection 3A, the entity conducting the investigation shall notify the oversight entity that the investigation will review an alleged compliance issue in accordance with this section. Do you have a second? Okay, and
I
will
wanna
you speak to it?
Yeah, thank you.
Or do you want me to speak to it?
Well, this one I'll get. I just want to say, if you're on law and licensing, this probably seems like deja vu because this is the language that we voted out at the last session that we had. And at the time, my biggest concern with this particular rule was that how does this body, this elected body, exercise oversight if we don't know what actions are taking place? But after speaking with Deputy Stallings and Chair Moss, I believe that this strikes a good middle ground, which will allow for these informal resolutions to take place with the board leadership, but also require that board leadership notify the board member or members in whose district those informal resolutions are taking place. And so again, this isn't a prerequisite that they have to get approval. It's not a requirement that they need permission, but rather this is a notice requirement that if they are working with an LEA school in a board member's district, that board member would have to be notified. And I think that strikes the right balance between helping these LEAs resolve these issues without a formal
I don't think it does that.
action. Is that language not there?
I don't think it does that.
Angie, another that I wasn't copied on.
Oh.
And so we were a little confused as to what is going on here.
Oh, the one you sent me, Angie, is the one that I'm relying on.
And I had
And the one
I
that's
sent
up
you
is
this
the one
morning.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I'm like, it doesn't say that, but.
Okay,
So, Greg, just scroll down a little bit
I apologize.
Oh, okay. You're good.
to the blue. It'll be the blue.
So without any objection, or is there?
No,
Are
it's
you-
the blue one, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, yeah.
any, okay, friendly.
Thank you.
I'm going to
Would
read
you-
it for Board Member Carey. So we're going to add the following. 3A, in response to an alleged compliance issue regarding a program or set of requirements, board leadership may work informally with the oversight entity towards resolving the issue with which efforts may include. For an issue regarding an LEA, meeting with the chair of the LEA's governing board, the LEA superintendent or charter director, or considering whether training or additional time will allow the oversight entity to resolve the issue. If board leadership works informally with an oversight entity, as described in subsection 3A, board leadership will notify the board member who represents the area where the oversight entity is located of the resulting recommendations. And those will replace, or it will just be added. It'll be added after line 72. Do you want to speak to that, Board Member Carey, even though I think you did, even though it wasn't upright? But go
Yes,
ahead.
just, it'll be the same thing I said to the one in pink. But it, again, I think this strikes the right balance with notice to the board member or members. And Deputy Stallings, I don't know if that needs to be changed. I don't know the statutory, we have member singular, but some of our areas, there'd be multiple members that would need to be notified. But I would, if that's just a technical change, I would just ask that we make it. Yep, and thank you. And thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, you, do you want, anybody else want to, Board Member Bogus, do you want to speak to this? Okay. All right, and I want to speak to this language real quick. I think this is a good balance in this. So anyways, as I've studied through this, I think this adds in what needs to be there. So, and I think it is good for other board members to know if something's being investigated or whatever in the area. So, thank you. Board member, do you want to, Chairman? Moss?
Yeah.
Do you have an amendment or are you speaking?
No, I'm speaking
Okay.
to it, if that's okay. I just want to back that up. I agree. I think this is some clarification that's needed. It allows leadership to, determine if something can be resolved, but gives that transparency piece so that if you're in somebody's backyard, they know that you're talking, they may want to join the discussion. So I appreciate the amendment and I'll vote for it.
Okay. I'm not going to read it again unless you guys want me to. Oh, comment. Yes, board member.
Okay with
Claire.
this, and the words read, as I'm reading it, I want to make sure this is also the intent that people will then refer back to. Board leadership may work informally with an oversight entity. So it's possible that you just say, nope, it's too complicated, we're too busy, we have other things on our plate, whatever. And then the part in the last paragraph shall notify the board member or members. So it doesn't require you to involve them in the discussion or decision making. It just, you notify them so that they're informed. So there's no possibility of undue influence or local interfering with local decisions by anybody. It's more just a may work informally and may notify the member.
Okay. Shall notify the member.
Yes.
That shall notify, right.
Yeah.
But then not necessarily,
May.
and then, member stays on sidelines.
Okay.
It doesn't say that,
One
but
more.
that's a possibility.
Okay, any other comments? Just yes.
Yeah, one more. I just want to make clear, I think the idea of informal resolution is not a negotiation where we're speaking for the board. We don't go in there and say, you must do this. It's more just, hey, these are the concerns, is there something you might want to do? And so, yeah, I don't want people to think we're going to go in there and negotiate on behalf of the board, right? Or intimidate, yes. No, right. No, that's exactly right. Here's what we're hearing. Can you fix this so we don't have to do something else about it? So yeah, that's the intent. And we notify a board member they may want to join. And if not, it's up to them. But yeah,
Once you notify, it seems like you're still in charge of me.
yeah, I mean, again, in charge is, I think, perhaps a bit of a stretch because we're not calling them on the carpet. We're just talking, look, here's what we're hearing, right? So yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay, we're gonna, oh, yes. Board member, Carey, we gotta get his mic from down there.
Something that board member, I can't talk from here?
No, you can.
Oh. Oh, sorry. Just the provision B does not say that the notification has to take place prior to resolving the matter. So if it would be accepted as a friendly to my own amendment that
It says before board leadership works informally, board leadership shall notify.
we just added the language before board leadership works informally, just to make sure that the board member of that district is notified prior to the involvement of board leadership. So if there's no objection, I would like to make that amendment or change.
Any objection? Okay. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and vote on this. Are you ready, Kelsey? So board member Carey has an amendment to 114 and go ahead and vote. It's up for everyone. Two more? We have 2 missing. Check to make sure yours went. We're good. So that's a unanimous vote. Okay, we'll go back to the original document. So, Angie, who's ever scroll. Okay, so the motion before the board, where's my documents? We've already voted on that, so it's the original motion as amended. So the motion before the board is that the board approve R277114 corrective action and withdrawal or reduction in program funds, draft 7 as amended on second and final reading. And go ahead and vote. Oh, as soon as Kelsey has it up. As soon as we're done. Okay, we're missing, okay, we've got them. So it's 1 abstention by Board Member Klein and a no from Board Member Bogus and Board Member Green, and 12 votes in favor, so this passes. And Board Member Carey has a comment.
If I may, I just wanted to echo what Chair Hymas alluded to earlier, which is, this is draft 7, and this had come before loan licensing on several different occasions. And I just wanted to recognize Chair Hymas for always making sure that he was getting these different ideas and trying to bring the best resolution possible, as well as the members of that committee, but especially Angie. Passions were very high on this, and including my own. But Deputy Stallings was always willing to engage in conversation and listen to all sides. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we're clear. Board Member Klein wants hers a no on this one, non-abstention, okay? Just make that publicly clear. So, and I would echo actually what Board Member Carey said. I've read through this probably, I don't know how many times over the last month, just thinking about it from different angles. Does this meet the needs of what we have? And I'm grateful for all the public comment, because I think it really made a really strong rule that sometimes that give and take and that tension actually causes people to think. So I appreciate that too. Okay, we are, one more.
Okay. And before I go on, can I ask a question? Draft 7 can't be the record. What's a record here for drafts here?
607 had 11 drafts.
11? 12 or 13?
Yeah, you're not even
right.
close. Good
L&L,
try.
we've got some work to do.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't want to do that much work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good try. I don't know. We're not. Yeah.
We'll do the drafts, but the 3 public hearings is too much.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, go
we're going
ahead.
to move on to agenda item 6.4. And before I do, thank you, Vice Chair Carey. Thank you, Law and Licensing Committee. It was a lot of work. It was a heavy lift. I'm happy with the results, so thank you. 6.4, R277-100, definitions for Utah State Board of Education rules. The committee recommends that the board approve R277-100, definitions for Utah State Board of Education rules, draft 3 on second and final reading.
Okay. And Board Member Klein has an amendment.
Yes, I would like to amend line 19 to add board means the 15 elected members of the State Board of Education.
Okay, so on line number 15, it's a describer, right?
The
And it
definition of the
says-
board.
Definition of board means, give just a second. Do you want to say that again?
So
I don't-
board means, and then add the 15 elected members of, and then it finishes by saying the State Board of Education. So
Okay.
board means the 15 elected members of the State Board of Education.
Is this from draft 3? Did you say line 15? I'm sorry.
19.
19.
19. Okay, so
Okay.
adding where it has board in this document, this is our definitions document for public that's following. It would add, the board means the 15 elected board members, 15 elected board members. Okay, second, do I have a, oh,
15 elected
elected-
members of the State Board of Education.
the 15 elected members of the State Board of Education. Is there a second? A second from Board Member Bogus? Any discussion? Oh, question, Board Member Davis.
Yeah, so does this mean that the agency goes back to be calling the State Office of Education and the board is defined as the 15, you should probably say elected or appointed, because if people move away, the governor appoints or something, or some, I don't know how they do it anymore. Gonna change it now.
Yeah, but if someone were to,
The delegates
If
could
someone-
appoint. I mean,
yeah.
someone's going to appoint.
Yeah.
Until a formal election. Anyway,
yeah, I guess.
I guess that's my question. So a handful of years ago, this body was called the Board of Education and defined as such. And the agency was called the State Office of Education. And I think it was, who changed that? It was Chair Jennifer Johnson years, right? And so
Angie-
then Dave Crandall years. Anyway, then everybody was called the board. So if we vote for this, that we redefine, then do we go back and change all the letterhead again? Back
But that,
the state office?
the question would become, in our rules, because this is referencing rules, when we refer to the board in the rules, we're not referring to superintendency, right? Because we spell out superintendent different. So this would be accurate because it's for our rules. Is that right? Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Because
but who, I mean,
when you reference board in the rules, we don't assume superintendency with that. So this isn't this is based just on the way we use it in the rules. Yeah. So this would be accurate, an accurate representation.
so this is needed, that's not understood anywhere else in this?
That just clarifies, I think.
Okay.
So, okay, any other comments? Okay, we're ready to vote. Okay. So let me go ahead and read it again, maybe. That the board means inserting the following phrase on line 19, that 15 elected members of ... after the board means after the State Board of Education. Okay, go ahead and vote. Okay, we're at 10. That means 5 of you out there, 2 of you, 1. Okay, that passed with 14 to 1. The 1 being, I can't read without my glasses. Okay, board member Rail voted no. Okay, and let's go ahead with the motion that the board approves R277-100 definitions for Utah State Board of Education rules, draft 3 is amended on second and final reading. So all those in favor, you got your quick fingers, Andrea. You're good. And then we will take a 7-minute break again. We're going to take a little bit of a break. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead. Okay, we're missing 5, 4, 3, 2. We're still missing 3, 2. We're missing 2. Still missing 2, and 1 more. We're still okay. There we go. Okay, that's a unanimous vote, and we are. Oh, what? One more item of something.
It's not an item, and I'm happy to go on break. I don't want to keep you. I did want to let the public know and the board know there are 2 items that were on the Law and Licensing Committee meeting for tomorrow. One was that have been moved. And so one was the school counseling program model, and the other was the school counselor services document. Those 2 will move to the February 2nd committee. I just wanted to, again, let public know in case there are going to be any public commenters. I just wanted to get it out now instead of tomorrow morning if they show up. Thank you.
Perfect.
And
Okay.
that wraps up the Law and Licensing
And that
Committee
would
report.
give you a time to stretch your legs, get a drink, and whatever, make a snowman.